All right, everyone, we need to put politics aside for a few minutes. I'm going to try and make this under 30 minutes, but we need to talk about the mental health treatment in this country. And we need to put politics aside. I don't care if you're left wing, right wing, chicken wing. I don't care what you are, Democrat, Republican. Although I'm probably going to say some things that are going to piss off some Democrats or some liberals. Just a trigger warning. But I'm not trying to be political in this. I'm serious that we need a bipartisan solution. We need to come together as a country. You Democrats need to love this country more than you hate this president. You need to love this country more than you hate the president. Because until you can do that, we are not going to have solutions, and we will have more school shootings. We have a mental health issue in this country. Guns have been around for centuries. Mass public shootings, including school shootings, have only been happening in the manner that they're happening for the last 3 decades. 1999 with Columbine was the first mass shooting in a school. And those kids, they vlogged what they were doing. They had video diaries that you can probably find on YouTube, because I know I've watched them. And you can listen to these kids. And it's not the gun, it's the mental health. I'll get to the guns in a minute. But we need to talk about mental health. Now, out of the 36, and I'm going to post where I'm getting this statistic from. Of the 36 school shooters, okay, all 36 school shooters were under the influence of psychotropic drugs, or they were in withdrawal of psychotropic drugs. The common thread through all of these shootings is psychotropic drugs. Okay? This is our issue. The government and the pharmaceutical industry are married to each other. And they needed a group of test subjects. After MK Ultra and the LSD experiments, they developed SSRIs, Ritalin, Adderall, and they decided that they needed to test this on people. And so they have been experimenting for the last 3.5 decades on our children, from my age on down, starting in the 80s. The pharmaceutical industry went to the schools and told these early children, developmental education people, that there's a new epidemic of children being hyperactive and having attention deficits, and because they were being kids, they're active, they're playful, they don't want to settle down and hear story time, they want to play. And so they told these teachers that these students needed to take Adderall and Ritalin to calm them down, to give them a chill pill. So the parents are brought into the school, told that their children have behavioral issues, and issued what the pharmacological people tell them. They parrot the same thing to the parents. The parents take them to the doctor, and the doctor, who's getting kickbacks from the pharmaceutical industry, prescribes these drugs. I know it's a stretch, but it's all connected. And I'll tell you why this is happening. Have you read the side effects on these psychotropic drugs? Have you read them? Because I have. And I'll tell you exactly what. I'm giving you the short list of the side effect. Now, a side effect is an effect that is a fact that these will happen in groups of people if they take these drugs, because these drugs are designed to rewire the way that your brain functions, the way that you think. And some of these side effects that the big pharma companies, big gun lawyers cannot get removed from the warning label are tendencies to commit violence, may cause you to become suicidal, have more aggression, irritability, agitation, hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, hearing voices, and to become homicidal. Do you want your child on a medication that has warnings like this on it? Do you want your family member to be on medications that have this on the warning label? I mean, there's a reason why cigarettes have the warning that says may cause cancer, because they do. There's a reason why these are warning labels on psychotropic drugs, because they do cause these things to happen. So again, we are going in, and I like the term, we are monkeying around with the wiring of people's brains. And the people that are getting put on these drugs are people that are vulnerable to these side effects because they have an underlying medical condition, whether it, an underlying mental medical condition, which makes them more vulnerable to these side effects. Now, 99% of the kids that get put on these medications don't even need to be on them. If you're a preteen, if your teenager is having issues, maybe they need to go outside behind the school and smoke a joint and think about the way the world is and listen to some music. Okay? Instead of giving them a pill that causes them to become violent and to commit homicide. Just saying, maybe that's the better solution. Maybe the solution for people who have mental illness is we don't have a solution for it yet. We don't have a treatment for it yet. Maybe that's the answer, is that there is no answer other than to watch them. I don't know what the solution is, but drugs with side effects like this are not a solution. I just watched The Truth Seeker, or Seeking the Truth. Josh, I can never get the name of your website right, but I'll add your link below. He just posted a video put out by the Pentagon in 2005. And this member of the Pentagon is talking about a military experiment that they've done on people in other countries. And what it is it's a vaccine. Here comes the vaccines again. It's a vaccine that is a genomic vaccine. It's a genomic vaccine to extinguish undesirable behavior. To extinguish undesirable behavior. How do you extinguish undesirable behavior? What is an undesirable behavior? Is because someone is a Republican or right-wing, is that an undesirable behavior? I mean, how do you determine what is undesirable? In other words, is this a form of mind control? Can they control your mind? And in this video, they have MRI images of people's brains and how this actually changed people's brains. Okay, this is scary stuff. We know less about the brain and how it works than we know. There is more mysteries in the human brain than we know how to treat. So we're going in there with only a tenth or a millimeter of information in a vast pool of things that we don't know. And we're going into things that we should not be toying with. And this Nicholas Cruz said that there were demons telling him how to pull off this shooting. His family has confirmed that he had underlying mental health issues, he was depressed, and he was autistic, and that he was on multiple psychotropic drugs, that he was getting help at a local psychiatric clinic. So in other words, whatever they were doing with him at this psychiatric center, they were doing the wrong things. The psychiatric community, psychiatrists, do not like to admit when they are wrong and that they don't know what they are doing, but clearly in this situation, they had no idea what the fuck they were doing, because it ended in this boy carrying out his homicidal fantasy. Probably uninhibited because of the medication he was on. Fail, psychiatric community. The next community is law enforcement. Law enforcement had been called out to that house 39 times in the last year. Mental ill person, domestic disturbance, domestic violence, child adult abuse. He was probably abusing someone in the household, whether it was a mother or siblings, I don't know. The police are going in. If there is a violent person with mental health issues, why are they not confiscating the guns? He had so many guns, it would be hard to hide them all. And it's hard to hide rifles. Why were the police not confiscating the weapons is what I want to know. Because if I'm going in for a mentally ill person who's violent, that's the first thing I'm taking away. Not only for my safety, but the safety of the people in that household, including that person. Now, it might have been because the police were involved, the police were able to get him the psychiatric help that we would say he needed. But the psychiatric help that turned him into the monster. We turn people into monsters, rewiring the brain. And then we blame that person and not ourselves for making that person a monster. But again, law enforcement, local law enforcement, I don't know whether I give them a C or a D, because if they were responsible for trying to get him psychological help, then I don't think that they were failing him. They were doing what they thought was right. Okay, but they still failed. The school knew he had issues. The school expelled him. Again, another warning bell. They did the right thing for the protection of the students by expelling him. However, for him, for his mental state, it might have been the wrong thing to do. Between the law enforcement calls, the expulsion, and his mother passing away just a couple of months ago, back in November, those might have been the anchors that were keeping him stable. And as each anchor, each tie broke, it caused this to happen. That's again, allegedly, that's my assessment of the situation. So it was probably the worst thing for him, but the best thing for maybe trying to keep the students safe. So the school absolutely did the right thing. But now this boy, I like to call him boy, this boy goes onto a YouTube content creator's website using his real name. So he's not hiding. And I kind of feel like, in a way, he's screaming for help at this point. He seems like he's screaming for help. He goes on, and of course everyone knows the comments, I want to be a professional school shooter. Nobody says that in their right mind, okay? The YouTube creator does the absolutely right thing and calls the FBI. The FBI does the absolute wrong thing, or I should say the lazy thing. They interview the YouTube content creator who gives them a snapshot of the comment. The FBI tracks down his IP address, so they know where he's at. They know his name. He's not using an alias. And did they sit him down for a one-on-one interview? No. Why they did it, I don't know. I can only assume it's because that Nicholas Cruz's name is not Nicholas Cruz Donald Trump, because the FBI's priorities were to go after and impeach the president and not to go after real threats in this country, which is why from the top down, Christopher Wray, the top agency officials for the last 10 years need to all be fired. They need to be purged because they're all corrupt. The FISA memo confirms that. Anyway, off topic. But, you know, the fish stinks from the head down. And the last 20 years, we've had very corrupt people in the Oval Office of the presidency, from Clinton, Bush, Obama. They're all corrupt. They all corrupted these agencies, and now they're fucking useless. Going back to this boy who had all of these weapons. A lot of the weapons that he had, he's in different poses. He's got weapons all over his bed, everywhere. Some of those weapons that are in the pictures, legally, he is not allowed to own until he is 21 years old, which means that he purchased those weapons illegally, which means he doesn't give a fuck that it would be illegal to purchase a firearm. He got weapons illegally from the Obama-Clinton crime family. Fast and Furious, look it up. Selling Obama and Clinton were the biggest arms dealers south of the border, and those weapons flow back up through the border illegally. Okay, it's a stretch, but that's how a lot of people in this country get illegal firearms. So he doesn't care if you make guns completely illegal. People like him will find a way to get a gun. They're psychotic. They don't care what the law says. Okay? The school was a gun-free zone. He didn't read the sign that said gun-free zone, okay, and say, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. They don't care what the law says. Secondly, I find it a little ironic that the one gun that he's legally able to purchase is the one that's used in the shooting. That's a little convenient, because my other question is, with his criminal record, the fact that he's been expelled from school, the fact that he's on psychiatric medication, how the fuck did he pass a background check? Where isn't the FBI again supposed to supply background checks? Like, who the fuck is supplying this information? Who the fuck in these organizations are not doing their jobs? Okay? So, again, the FBI dropped the ball again. But here's the thing. I want to talk a little bit about the gun, because this is where people are getting lost. They're getting lost in the woods. Okay? AR-15 does not mean assault rifle. An AR-15 is a rifle that has been cosmetically changed to look scary. It's a cosmetically scary looking hunting rifle. That's what it is. It's a hunting rifle that looks scary to people who are scared of guns. Okay, I'm not. I have cousins that have guns and ammunition, and they have rifles on the rack of their trucks. Okay, and they ain't going out and they're not committing homicides. They've never killed anybody. They've never hurt anybody a day in their lives. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, for an AR-15 to be fired, okay, here's the thing. I got to get my... One squeeze of the trigger, one bullet. Pow, 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 pow. Up to 30 times before the magazine changes, okay? So you're squeezing 30 rounds off, one at a time, okay? It's not a toy gun like you see on the video games, or a machine gun like a Tommy gun where you just push the handle and it goes and sprays everything, okay? That's not an AR-15, okay? Quit getting your ideas of guns from movies and cartoons, please. If you're going to engage in the gun debate, know something about guns. Thank you. And on that same token, as far as rifles are big, CNN was actually afraid. They were actually shocked that in Florida, you didn't need a concealed carry permit to have an AR-15 or a rifle. And that's because an AR-15 or a rifle are impossible to conceal unless you're 10 feet tall and you have really long pant legs that you can slide the gun in. Okay, you cannot hide these weapons. Okay, a handgun, yes, but a rifle, no. You cannot conceal a rifle. Which brings me to this really cute blonde girl. Her name is Alexa Mendrick, and she gave an interview to CNN right after this incident occurred. And she's very calm, she's very well spoken, and her interview raises more questions and more red flags for me. And the reason why is because the initial report says that Nicholas Cruz walked into the school wearing a gas mask and had grenades or smoke bombs on him. And he was wearing this gas mask when he pulled the fire alarm, which then the principal came on and said, okay, everyone, go, leave. But Alexa says that she encountered Nicholas in the hallway as they're leaving. And she says as she is talking to Nicholas in another part of the building, she could hear gunshots. Now, if Nicholas is the shooter, how can he be having a lucid conversation with this Alexa girl while he's in another part of the building shooting? It's physically impossible for him to teleport to two locations at one time. And the fact that when Alexa saw him, he was not wearing a gas mask and he did not have a rifle in his possession. So this suggests one of two theories. Theory one is that there is a second shooter that was with Nicholas. And so by the time she runs into Nicholas, he's already done shooting and he's ready to leave. Like, oh, okay, I shot like 5 people. I'm good. I can go. Or is Nicholas a patsy? Is someone taking advantage of Nicholas's background and his mental health issues and his expulsion? And did someone lure him to that school that day? And he bumps into this girl while this shooting is taking place. That's the other conclusion that you can draw from this, is that either there's a second shooter or Nicholas is not the shooter at all. And the other thing that raised alarm bells in my head is she knows Nicholas well enough that as they're exiting the school and they're hearing the shots in another part of the building, I actually think she thinks this is a drill, to be honest. Because she's kind of, I don't know, I would take this as a joke. If someone says, if there's going to be a school shooting, I thought it would be you. Like, that's kind of something you would say to someone, like, as a joke. Like, you're not taking the situation seriously. The other thing is that if she knows Nicholas well enough to say, if there is a school shooting, I would think it would be you. She knows him well enough to say that, then she knows darn well he's been expelled from that school. So if you run into someone who's expelled from your school and you see them in your school, wouldn't you be like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? Like, what? You're not supposed to be here. What the heck are you doing here? I mean, that would have been my first question. Hey, you're not supposed to be here. What are you doing here? Did they let you back into school? Like, why didn't she ask him that? What are you doing here? I would have, but she didn't. And then when she's being interviewed by CNN directly after the incident, she's talking about how Nicholas is the suspect, and she does air quotes. So again, and she's very calm, and I'm wondering if she thinks this is a drill, and she thinks that maybe Nicholas is part of the drill. And The other thing that makes me think that she might have thought that this is a drill is that she and other students have come out and said that they were told that there was going to be a drill during this last week. So a lot of them assumed this was a drill until they saw that their teachers were actually dead on the floor. And then they realized that this was actually a real event. Now, Nicholas, when he leaves the school, he's blending in with the students, which means his hands are up, showing that he's not carrying any weapons. Now, maybe this is a conflicting report, but when he is arrested, the police say that he had the AR-15 used in the shooting on his person. Now, if he's leaving the school with his hands up, and you cannot conceal an AR-15, it's virtually impossible, okay? And Miss Alexa did not see a weapon on him, okay? Did he go and sneak back into the scene and grab his AR-15 and sneak it out, only to be caught a few miles later? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Not that people who are insane make sense, but how do you sneak? I mean, I suppose you could sneak back in during the pandemonium, but why would you risk that? Why? I don't, you know. And then the media, they come to this point where they're salivating like rabid dogs over this white nationalist Donald Trump angle. Again, trying to bring politics into this equation, trying to divide the country, because that's what the media and that's what the political system does. They divide us. We are weaker when we are divided. We do not come to solutions when we are divided, okay? And 4chan, the hackers at 4chan, decided to play a joke on the media. What they did was they put a juicy piece of news out on 4chan. The juicy news was that Nicholas Cruz was a member of the white supremacist group, the Republic of Florida. And they didn't think that it was going to go anywhere when they posted this on 4chan. Well, the media bit. The media bit hard, and they shook their jaws, and they went after that story hardcore. And the hackers at 4chan, and I don't know why 4chan's being used as a legitimate news source. Was Wikipedia not available that day? But they, on that thread, they're actually saying, "Oh shit, we went national overnight." Like they were shocked that the media bit. And this Jordan Jareb, who's the head of the Republic of Florida, gets a phone call from CNN or one of these big corporate legacy media places, and they probably said, "So, was Nicholas a part of your LARPing? You know, your part of your white supremacist militia group?" And this Jordan Jareb's probably like, "Yeah, I got a Nicholas in my group." And that was probably good enough for the media. But I chuckled when I heard that angle, because a white supremacist group and ethno-nationalists are not going to let Nicholas Cruz into their group. One, he looks goofy, which probably, you know, he was probably bullied, which probably didn't help his mental status. But they're not going to let him into their group because of the last name Cruz, C-R-U-Z. When he introduces himself, they're probably going to ask him what his ethnic background is. And if he's Hispanic, I know the media likes to say white Hispanic, and a lot of people like to say, oh, Hispanic people are white. Okay, but the majority of the people in this world, white supremacists, do not hold that view. Hispanic people are not white, okay? They're not going to let him in their group. And what the Republic of Florida is it's a LARPing group. They're a LARPing group that takes themselves too seriously. LARPing is live action role play. They get together and they pretend to be these militiamen who are going to go out and secede from the country. That's what they're role playing. They roll down hills and they use road flares. Okay, very amateurish. My dog is not afraid of the Republic of Florida. Just saying. So, you know, again, the media is not checking their sources just because they want to have a political angle on this. And for all of you who say that guns need to be banned, if Donald Trump is Hitler, why do you want Hitler confiscating your guns and violating your constitutional rights? Why do you want him to become Hitler? Because that's what Hitler would do. Number two, if you want the military and the police to only be the only ones with firearms, if police are indiscriminately killing minorities, why do you want to disarm minorities who cannot defend themselves against police that are indiscriminately killing them? That makes absolutely no sense. So again, if you want to play politics and say that we need to get rid of guns, then this will continue to happen over and over and over again. We need to get past the politics. We need to forget the method of violence is not the issue. It's the reason for the violence. It's the why. Why are they doing this? What is causing them to commit violence? And when you notice the mug shots of the shooters that are taken alive, you'll notice their pupils are very tiny, or they have the rings around the eyes, and they look like zombies. They look dead behind the eyes, like they're zombies, like their mind, like all those wires have been yanked out of their brains, and they're not in control, and they look like their tongues should be out, and there should be some drool there. And for the shooters that are taken in dead, I would like to see the brain actually studied to see if there is any difference in the brain that causes these people to do what they do. Like football players like Junior Seau, who committed suicide, and Aaron Hernandez, their brains were taken after they died and are being studied for the effects of CTE on football players. When these shooters are killed, why are their brains, if their brains are still intact, not taken in and studied to find out what is happening in that brain? Perhaps even while they're alive, maybe there needs to be an MRI imaging of their brains to figure out and see if those brains, what areas of the brains are different. This is a mental health issue, not a gun issue. And we're confusing the two issues. We're confusing it. And because we're confusing it, we're never going to fix it until we decide that we need to put politics aside, save the gun issue for another day, and get to the core issue of what is happening in these people's brains to cause them to commit these acts of violence. That's my message to you, and that's my challenge to you. Love the country more than you hate the president in office, and come together for psychological solutions. And that's all I got to say on this. Bye.